What's up, everybody? Once again, it's Brandman Sean, and this video is brought to you by BrandmanNetwork.com because I signed myself. Now, I gotta talk about this Russ interview, man, because I feel sorry for 13-year-old white kids, bro. I mean, this is a bad day for y'all. This is a bad day for 13-year-old white kids, man. The way Russ came at y'all gotta have a board meeting or something, man. Y'all gotta get together, see what y'all gonna do about this, because I wouldn't have it. But nah, in all seriousness, there's two primary things I'm gonna take away because there's a lot that I could talk about that interview. Now I'll do other videos, right? But really about this interview, there's two primary things that I got to talk about. One is just important because I haven't really heard anybody talk about that on this kind of platform before, and two, is something that is kind of BS. And when I say BS, I'm talking about something that Russ mentioned about how he blew up that I know a lot of artists are going to misappropriate and mess up because they're going to say they're copying Russ, and then they're going to F up because they're going to fail. And I'll get to that, though. That second part is for the artist. First and foremost, what Russ was talking about, for those of you who haven't seen the interview, when I was talking about the 13-year-old white kids, Russ constantly talked about in the interview how 13-year-old white kids are what's wrong with hip-hop. And he was, it's not necessarily that specifically, right? That you can use that as a metaphor for a type of people. But in a lot of ways, some of them probably do fit that description. But basically, he was saying 13-year-old white kids are running these meme pages, and these meme pages are running hip hop, right? Which we all know those meme page strategies is a huge thing in hip hop anyway. And the reason those are a huge thing is because those pages do have that influence. So that right there should validate it to some people, right? And so you have these white kids who run a lot of these meme pages influencing black culture, and then influencing these executive decisions and the industry decisions, which influences who becomes commercial, right? So that's a lot of correctness to that, and I'm not going to even beat around that bush, but I just want to say that's one of the primary things with this internet space, man, and where it's in real life, we have a lot of things to look at to say this is valid, this is invalid, this is something worth listening to, this person is credible, right? But on the internet, everything kind of just becomes an even playing field. You don't know whose opinion is more valid. And I'm not talking about people who are doing things where they're putting their actual face out there, but most of these commenters, right? They're people who are using avatars. People are using other people's personalities, right? People have like little symbols and things like that, but their opinion still comes off. The human mind, there's been studies, our human mind still has trouble differentiating that, yo, this is just a regular like comment, but I don't know who this person is. This person could be an executive working at X company making $500,000 a year, and this person could be in 6th grade and never, like whatever, and we don't know the difference. That's a huge problem with the internet, and that is influencing hip hop, but that's influencing culture as a whole, right? Somebody can say, "Oh, I bought your book, and your book is trash," but they never even bought the book. A lot of times people think stuff like that is funny, but then people have this whole thing where they're not good or they're not comfortable taking an opinion, well, trying to form an opinion themselves, so they actually look for other opinions to validate it. That's why we do social proof, and that's why we have verification badges on Instagram, Twitter, right? All that stuff. But the problem with that is that's only about validating identity, not quality. If you guys don't know what I mean by that, this is not worth explaining in this video. But it's more about identity than quality of opinion or quality of work or whatever. Now, to the thing for the artist, right? What's so important to understand about this Russ strategy, right? He alluded to something that's important, and those principles are still important, which are, one, have a catalog. I've been saying that forever, I feel like if you're an artist who hasn't known that after all these years, I don't know, man. Maybe you're not studying for yourself, but yes, you need a catalog if you want to do it that indie route. I'm gonna talk about that in another video, though. Another thing is consistent content. Cool, all right, but that's really just to create the catalog. You can slow down if it's already in place. The other thing that people are missing is the consistent attention. Because people keep hearing this whole SoundCloud thing, and I post it once a week on SoundCloud, and where y'all are messing up is not understanding the context of Russ's situation. And to remind people or to let people know who don't know, like I am someone I've talked about in videos before. I was following Russ before he was ever on SoundCloud. I discovered him. Well, first it was a performance. Saw him in person, whatever. He told me he was on YouTube, looked him up and all that stuff, blah blah blah. That's when he had all them videos, 11 projects, right? SoundCloud, the difference, and I talked about this when I did my debunking Russ strategy video. The purpose of that whole thing, right, is there's a lot more than just posting consistent content. And the most important part is the consistent attention portion. So Russ possibly, right? I mean, he says he was just posting on SoundCloud, but you have to think about this part right here. Where SoundCloud was in that period of time, early on, as I've described again and again, is beneficial for anybody who's posting content on the platform, right? So what does that mean? If you are early to Instagram, then you're probably going to get good organic attention, right? If you're early to Twitter, Facebook wasn't built like that, but like early to these technology platforms, the platform incentivizes people early on because they're trying to grow people. They're trying to get growth on their platform, and there's less competition. SoundCloud today is not SoundCloud when Russ was on there, right? So you can't just go on SoundCloud today and drop a song a week and expect to get the results that Russ did, right? There's a lot of people who experienced a lot of growth and organic growth on SoundCloud back at that time. Not the same today. The platform is different today. Discoverability is harder today. They're trying to monetize certain things, which forces them to make certain types of decisions, right? So it's different for him to do that when he did that, because just like he mentioned, if you go watch the full interview, he said, yeah, I noticed that a lot of people don't listen to all these other songs. So people are listening, they'll listen to that first song, but the other songs, they won't necessarily listen, because most people don't want to hear more than one song from somebody that's not an artist they already know. But I agree with a lot of what he's alluding to right there. So he said, you know what, I'm just going to post one song at a time because they'll listen to that one song. That's great, but there's that system. There's two parts to the system, as I've said again and again and again, right? You have the system of creating the content, like producing and putting it out. There's that system, and then there has to be a system of bringing consistent attention, consistent content and consistent attention. So what does that mean for him? The system was built in because the algorithm on SoundCloud allowed for consistent attention to be brought in without him necessarily having to do a whole bunch of extra stuff. In the same way people do type beats and then they have SEO, which allows consistent attention to be brought in, right? And sometimes it might be a lot, sometimes it might be a little, but these are new people that are constantly coming in to discover you. If you're not on a platform in that period of time, you got to figure out your own way to get consistent attention. Do not just go out there, post a song a week and say, I'm going to blow up. If you want to do that and expect some kind of blowing up, then you need to go find some kind of new social networks or some new platform where people are still coming in and you're early on in that process, because then you'll be one of those early on people who get incentivized as a content creator to have stuff on that platform. I know people who were on Instagram early, which I was far from that, right? And they'll talk about, I posted one post. As a matter of fact, Shade Room, so I'll mention that because they had, more people know that name. They posted one post and she was like, I got 60,000 likes or something like that just off of her first post, but didn't do anything, like no connections, no nothing, right? Because she built it from the ground up. No connections, no nothing, but she's early onto the platform. So people had hyper growth, or maybe she had 60,000 followers with just one post, but it like grew extremely quickly, but she was one of the first people on there. And then she was one of the first people with that type of platform or outlet on there in that particular space. All this stuff is relevant, man. Y'all, you gotta have consistent attention. I know I'm ranting off on this one, but I want to make sure people get it. Go ahead and click off if you need to. But last time, I gotta say this once again: consistent production. How do you produce it? Put it out, and then consistent attention. And this is more necessary for someone who wants to build it and do it for themselves. Less necessary for somebody who's in a label system. I'll talk about that in another video, because a lot of y'all are taking labels advice or label people's advice on how you should put out your content, and they have different context, right? They see what works with singles and things like that for artists that they're working with because they're in that system. But if you are not in that system, you can't take that advice because it doesn't apply to you. You don't have that infrastructure. So what they're saying is not wrong. It just doesn't apply to you. In the same way, what Russ is saying is not wrong, but you can't literally say, I'm going to post on SoundCloud once a week. You might have to post on, I don't know, TikTok once a week, right? Because TikTok is still earlier on. Or bet on something like Triller, or bet on one of these other platforms that I don't even know, right? You know, because I haven't heard of it, but it's early on and you might find it. That's what your strategy should look like. Attention. And if you can't do it organically because you haven't found a platform that has that, that means you need to have a budget to actually allocate to bring consistent attention, new people some other way. Influencer posts, ads, whatever the hell that is. Dang it, I cursed. I almost made it to the end without cursing, but I'm not going to re-record this thing again because YouTube, man, they be tripping. They keep on dinging my videos, just the little stuff. But either way it goes, that's why, you know, I got Brand Man Network, because I'm not going to be in their system, whatever. So once again, this video is brought to you by brandmannetwork.com. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you like, you might as well share it. And if you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button.